Thank you very much. Okay, I guess in terms of what I want to do today, I would like to give you guys as much value as I possibly can and download as much information as you deem valuable and kind of give you everything that you would like or need to know about content marketing in the pharmaceutical industry. And if that sounds weird, I guess the first question is to go, well, why would you do that? Why would you give away all of your kind of intellectual property or your IP? And why would you just give all this consultancy away for free? And it's because that really forms the basis of content marketing. So content marketing is about the kind of positioning yourself without kind of actively speaking about you or your brand, and positioning yourself as an expert in that field and communicating value in that way, so that you then you give a reason for your audience to really engage with you and follow you, and really kind of give you an opportunity at a later date to then communicate with them about why they should follow you, why they should buy your brand, etc. So it's not just going in there with a sales pitch straight off the bat, which some people may or may not do. Next slide. I'm just going to do a simple finger. There's builds. There's builds, James. Build it through, please.
Have you explained that the work on the projector, so you have a guess?
Yeah, there's a monkey on the projector, so just build it. Build it. Okay, so I thought what we're trying to do today is think about the role of content marketing within the pharmaceutical industry specifically, and then go back to kind of some basics on what content marketing really is and what it isn't, and then kind of how that then translates into the environment that we all live in on a day-to-day basis. So the situation is our clients are online, they're consuming all sorts of content and contributing value. But largely, our clients, I don't know if we have any pharma industry executives in tonight, medics, marketers, own up, fess up if we have any. No. Okay, good. They're not coming to our sites, right? They prefer to go to scientific journals, medical databases. They even use search engines and Wikipedia for the information that they go to. And one of the last places that they would go to is go to a pharmaceutical site. And there was some Google data published a couple of years ago about how only about 7% of search data goes to a pharma site. So there is a bit of a trust issue with the content that pharma produce, and potentially how, and I think we'll come on to this a bit later, how sites are optimized for search and UX and contributing value. So the question that we're kind of here to address is, can content marketing help address that issue? I don't know, but we'll figure it out. So next slide, please. So build it again. So the Content Marketing Institute, and that is an actual thing, the Content Marketing Institute, defines content marketing as a strategic marketing approach to creating and distributing valuable, relevant content consistently to attract and retain a clearly defined audience, and ultimately to drive a profitable customer action. And if it were to build properly, ultimately at its core, what content marketing about is putting your owned media assets at the center of your online environment and giving you control over that universe, let's say. And through that, and through contributing value through your content on your owned assets, it allows you to practice permission-based marketing. So it's about saying, you should come to me as a trusted provider of information, education around whatever the topic is. It could be cars, it could be medicine. And then it's saying, okay, you appreciate the content that I provide so much, you're going to provide, every now and again, I don't mind, you'll hit me with some marketing about your product and brand, because that's fine, and that's the value exchange. And I think what's really interesting about this whole meetup is it's a really nice example of content marketing in a way. Like, we're all here to share experience and expertise and hope in some way we all get something out of it, whether it's a new contact or a lead or I don't know, another partner agency or whatever that value, learn something maybe, whatever that is, there's a value exchange. And so the permission-based marketing piece is predicated on the fact that in order for somebody to willingly give up their email permissions, like, you've just got to give them something of value in return. Next. Build it up again. So why bother? So we've kind of touched on some of these. There's 6. So as I say, it puts your owned media assets back at the heart of what you do. So at the moment in pharmaceutical land, there's a lot of there's a kind of realization that, well, we don't have an audience, no one visits our websites, we've got to spend a ton of money in order to reach them, and there's a potential opportunity with content marketing, if we do it in the right way, to bring people to us, contribute value, hopefully that's different or unavailable elsewhere, that you can then use to leverage your own content and communicate the messages that you want to communicate, rather than someone saying, this is CME, you have to communicate it this way, or this is CME, we will develop that for you. And because you're in control of it all, then you can leverage all those different communications channels in order to push your message out there and bring people back to you, whether that's across owned, earned and paid media. Ultimately what it should do, to the earlier point, is it should give people a really compelling reason to opt in. So if you're just doing the same stuff as everybody else, why would anybody ever opt into what you do? So if you're in a highly competitive market, there's loads of contributors of content around diabetes, for example, why would they care? But if you're in a rare disease, that content is underserved, there are definitely opportunities out there to do that. Alternatively, if you are in that position and it is a competitive scenario, it doesn't all have to be about you, and we'll come on to that later. I think you'll come on to this point about organic search and social traffic, so we'll leave that there. Helps build and maintain long-term audience and trust, which we know can be lacking in some of our markets. And it does reduce your long-term advertising spend, but it increases your content production spend. So there's some interesting things to weigh off there about it is an investment, and when people opt in and subscribe to what you do, you have to be prepared to honour that agreement that you've said, okay, I'm prepared to give you my login details, but I absolutely won't be abused by product and brand messaging, and you're going to give me something of value in return. So at its core, that's what it's all about. And so who does this really well? Kind of ruin the moment. Next one. Publishers do this really well, right? So in our space, whenever we think about content marketing, scientific publishers are absolutely the tip top of what you should be aiming for if you're committed to following or pursuing a content marketing strategy. They deliver really credible content that's produced by experts. It's trustworthy because it's peer reviewed. It's reliable in the sense that it's consistently produced, so you're constantly giving people a reason to come back to your site and re-engage with your content. And the content is ultimately about serving the audience. And we'll come on to it a bit later, but I think this is sometimes in our industry, there's a real challenge with people thinking from the inside out rather than the outside in. And content marketing is always thinking about the outside in. So that's really where the opportunity is. So when we're thinking about what is best practice, it's almost best to look at what publishers do first and work backwards from there. So then the key question is anybody in our industry doing this well? And there is one provider that is doing this well on a big scale. Yes, please, James. Carry on. And this is Univadis. Is anybody aware of Univadis? Anyone on it? Anyone been on it? Good. Just one. Okay, so Univadis is a healthcare community portal, and it's owned entirely by MSD. So when you sign up to Univadis, you basically also, well, pre-GDPR this changed, but pre- or post-GDPR, you basically opt in to receive commercial marketing materials, not only from MSD, but from third-party suppliers. Is anyone in from Aptus Health tonight? They're clever people at Aptus Health. I applaud you. So basically, clearly MSD produced this platform in collaboration with Aptus Health, and I don't know if anybody's seen, but they're running a lot of social media marketing at the moment to provide things like audience insights, email marketing campaigns, lots of different products. And it's clearly largely off the back of this community portal and all of the conversations and the access to data that they have. And what MSD and I'm sure Aptus Health are keen to do is, a bit like Facebook really, is balance the needs of your target audience and your community with your commercial objectives of we need to sell a ton of ad space or host a load of content from industry. And this just provides a really nice opportunity as a case study to show that if you have got the budget and you've got the motivation and the energy to do it, there are content marketing opportunities inside the pharmaceutical industry that people are pursuing. And they're not all this big. So this covers like every therapy area and every disease area, and it could be whatever you want. But there are some, particularly when we think about new indications, rare diseases, that are very, very, very focused, that don't require this degree of this degree of investment. But ultimately what Univadis have found, and I'm sure they're kind of wrestling with at the moment, is because they've got a community on there that have signed up, they need to feed that beast and they need to keep feeding that monster. And part of the way that they've done that is in collaboration with scientific publishers. But interestingly, it's also going to be a huge investment in their own part for content. So there's some kind of payoff, like trade-offs here as a content marketing organization as to whether you think it's a really worthwhile investment, and why is it a worthwhile investment, and is it right for us, and are those information educational needs already being served, and if so, let's not bother. So next slide. So to the point of, there's a lot of stuff already out there. The internet is kind of saturated with information and education. Layered onto that, what happens if your client does need it but doesn't have the budget? Well, then there's a few different things to consider. So what we at Method do is try and kind of reframe content marketing within a slightly different context that I think a lot of us may or may not be familiar with. So James, just build it up again, that's fine. So we define content marketing as the creation and distribution of engaging information and understanding relevant to our client data brand, data and disease area. And ultimately what that is it's medical communications and education. Like, we've been doing this stuff for a long, long time. We all know what it is. We all know why it is. I think sometimes around the kind of topic of content marketing, the kind of bit that we're not so good at is this whole opt-in piece, subscriber piece, really getting people to commit to a longer term engagement with us. But if we're looking at supporting our clients in their best interests and positively shaping the market environment and delivering brand promotion for them, we've been doing it for a long time. So the difference now is we just need to find better ways of doing it online. So that's where it's at. So I thought it'd be quite useful just to kind of recap what makes really good content, what are some of the key considerations, how does content marketing, market shaping, med ed, med comms fit in, and then pull together some do's and don'ts. So James, if you could just build this up. So as I keep going, so as I said before, like, I think what the industry has typically always done is, here's some stuff we need to communicate, and we're just going to push that out there, and it's very much broadcast media. And what we try and do, and what we try and educate our clients to do, is think about, okay, you've got this thing that you need to communicate, but what is it your clients need to hear in order to positively shape the environment around your brand? And where do we need to deliver that to? Like, it's not just always going to live on your brand site or your corporate site. Sometimes it's not going to live on any site that you own. So just thinking about where they go, and then layered on top of that is, well, we've got this message to deliver, but who is the right person to deliver that message? And we all know that we don't pay really any attention to brands. So who are the right influencers to deliver that message in that environment? And then when we think about content, what is valuable content to our clients and our customers and our audiences? And then finally thinking about, well, okay, well, depending on the channels that they live in, what are the most appropriate channels formats for those channels? So these are kind of our core considerations, and then our content should really live in the middle of this then, really. Next slide. And then thinking about content marketing and really thinking about where it fits into what we're already doing. As I said before, I think we're already doing a lot of content marketing in this baseline online market shaping med ed space. It's just the term content marketing is very fashionable at the moment and people get caught up in it. But I still think that there are a lot of opportunities within the best practices of content marketing that make a real difference to how people approach market shaping, med ed, med comms that aren't always taken on board. So it doesn't mean you have to build a dedicated portal and build the next Univadis, but it does mean you have to put your audience need first and then balance that with what your business is trying to achieve, and then thinking about the most appropriate channels and formats to push your content through. But then all the other tactics that are on here, I mean, we've done this for years. So then it's just about going, okay, well, through my expertise of digital and online, what are the best places to place that content to then really make it pop? But the concepts and the structures of it really haven't changed. So that's really important. So I thought I'd wrap up with kind of content marketing 101 of kind of our primary do's and don'ts. So James, you can build. Oh, sorry. As an example, so I know everyone likes case studies. So when we think about what influences beliefs and behaviours in our target audience, what are the right channels to do it in, who are the right people to deliver those messages, what is the right content to deliver in those channels. We recently run a campaign with different online publishers and HCP community managers in collaboration with KOLs to develop and publish and distribute content. And it was the most successful thing we've ever done. And if you click the next slide, we ran it across a bunch of different big congresses throughout the year for different clients, but the approach was consistent. And we just got huge exposure for what was actually quite a standard approach without using mega bucks on paid media. So I think if we stick true to the things that we know work in traditional offline tactics and then really push them hard, like thinking about what works online, I think we're going to do really well. And I think this is a really nice case study to show that there are opportunities online and we just need to do it in a slicker way. So last slide from me. Just build it up, please, James. So I did some do's and don'ts that I thought would be useful, and I probably sound like a broken record. But from a do's perspective, do identify the needs and challenges of your audience first, and balance those with your business and your brand. Work with the influencers that positively impact and change customer behaviour. It isn't going to come from your brand. It isn't going to come from your company. Like, it's a peer-to-peer engagement largely. Then identify the channels that are most appropriate to push them through, and consider what the most appropriate formats are for those, and then create, share, publish, promote the butt off it. But it can be done. There's not a compliance issue here if it's done in the right way. And then as a don'ts, if that makes sense, don't make it all about your brand. Like anyone, nobody cares about your brand. They care about their pain points, their problems, their issues, and how you can help them. That's kind of the core of content marketing. So that should still ring true through what we do. Reconsider the source, like we spoke to earlier in the do's. Like, is your brand the best source of that information, or should it come from someone else? And personally, or as an agency, we don't feel you should rely only on owned media. So there's plenty of brand sites out there that get zero traffic. They host tons of useful content that nobody ever sees, downloads, visits, streams. Think of other earned and paid ways that you can reach your audience in the places they're in. So an analogy we use is you go fishing in the ponds that your clients are actually in. So go fishing in those ponds. Don't try and always drag them to you. It's a vanity metric. So that's it. So as a kind of broad concept, content marketing has some useful principles that are applicable to the pharmaceutical industry, but as an agency, we definitely wouldn't encourage taking all those on wholesale. They're just not broadly applicable in all cases. So that's it. Thank you.